Last night was class number 22, twisting arm control and the rear takedown. My old nemesis, the rear takedown. But it went well, and I felt a sense of victory. But the sense of victory wasn't so much what happened in the class. The real victory was just getting to the class in the first freaking place. So let me explain what happened. And this is not to throw my daughter under the bus, but I'm gonna give you a little insight as to how the whole day went down. So yesterday was the last day of school. And as any teacher in the free world knows, that's the best day of your life, okay? You get to go home and you have the next 2 months, 8 weeks, whatever, off for summer vacation. Now, yes, I'm at school today because it's a non-student day where I get to pack up my room and clean up and whatever, but I'm taking a moment to record this video because I want to tell you about my victory yesterday. And again, it's not a victory on the mats, it was a victory in getting to the mats. So let me explain. It's the last day of school. All I want to do is go home and chill. But I made a plan that I'm going to go to Jiu-Jitsu as many times as necessary in the month of June so that I can hit my goal. My goal is to get all of my classes done at least twice so I can go and do reflex development starting in July. That's my goal. And so yesterday, last night, class number 22, I'd done it once. Now I needed to do it twice so I could check that box and get to reflex development. So I planned to go to class, even though it was the last day of school, even though it was the start of my vacation, even though it was the best day of the year, I planned to take my butt to class. Now, normally I leave here in Los Angeles area and go straight to Torrance for class, okay? But I asked my daughter, who's taking Women Empowered. She normally does Women Empowered with me on Saturdays. I had asked her, I said, hey, there's no class Saturday because of the belt ceremony. Would you like to go to Women Empowered on Tuesday night with me? I'll come home, pick you up, we'll go down, do combatives, you can do Women Empowered, and that way you stay active and you're still learning and you're still progressing. And she was like, yeah, Dad, sure, let's do it. And I'm like, hell yeah, daughter, we're gonna make it happen. So yesterday morning when I left the house to come to school, I didn't grab my jiu-jitsu stuff. I left it at home. I left it at home because I knew I had to come home to pick up my daughter to take her with me to go to freaking Torrance to do Women Empowered. That was the plan. And so about halfway through the day yesterday, I checked with my daughter, said, hey, is all your stuff clean? You did your laundry, your gi, pants, and your rash guard, you ready to go? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, you still wanna go, right? And she's like, no, not really. And it's her summer vacation too, so I'm like, all right, I get it. You want to hang out with your friends, you want to chill, you want to play on your phone, you want to watch TV, whatever the heck she's doing. And so I was like, all right, fine. I'm not gonna make you go. This was an extra thing. So I'm like, all right, whatever. And then I realized I don't have my stuff. So I would have to leave school, drive the 39 miles all the way home, grab my jiu-jitsu stuff, and then drive the 38 miles to Torrance. And I thought, hell no. There's no way in hell I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna leave my school, drive an hour home, grab my stuff, jump back in the car, and drive an hour to Torrance just for me. If it was me and my daughter, I was willing to do it. But just for me, I'm like, hell no, I'm tired, screw it. So I drive the hour and some change home from work, LA traffic. And I got a snack, a soda, whatever. I'm sitting there watching TV, playing around on my computer. I got a little bit of work to do. Not schoolwork, school's over, but my wedding thing. So I'm doing this whole thing and I'm like, all right, now what? I started dozing off in my chair, actually. I was really tired. I was kind of falling asleep, and I thought, there's no way I'm getting in that car and driving. Check Google Maps. Google Maps is like an hour and 20 minutes with 5 p.m. LA traffic, rush hour traffic. There's no way I'm driving an hour and 20 minutes to Torrance to go do jiu-jitsu. Screw that. And I made up my mind. I kicked off my shoes, and I was chilling like a villain. But then I remembered my goals. Then I remembered what I was trying to accomplish. And I'm not talking about becoming an instructor someday. Yeah, that's on the back burner. I just want to be good at jiu-jitsu. I just want to learn jiu-jitsu. And this process of combatives and working my way through combatives to get to the master cycle so that I can roll and so that I can get better at the game of jiu-jitsu is a process. And I'm enjoying the process, and I want to complete the process. I mentioned in the previous video, a lot of the people I started with in January have transitioned to master cycle, and I'm seeing my friends graduate and go forward, and I'm like, ooh, I want to go forward. Obviously, I'm not going to rush it, but I'm thinking about it. I see my friends rolling and playing the game of jiu-jitsu, the game that I love, the game that I used to play, and I'm like, yo, I want to get into that. But again, of course, I got to take it by the step by step. I'm doing everything by the book, y'all. I'm not trying to cheat the system. And so I look at my calendar, my Gracie calendar, and I realize that if I didn't go to class number 22 last night, by my calculations, I don't know what the schedule is going to look like next month, but just following how the classes are typically mapped out, I said, man, I'm not going to be able to take this class again until like July the 11th. And I thought, that doesn't work for me. I have a goal. I set a goal. I'm going to stick to my goal. My goal is to get every box checked at least twice by the end of the month of June so that I can start reflex development in July. And you know what? I got my happy butt up. I got my bag. I've got my jiu-jitsu stuff together. I actually put on my gi pants at home, and I got my butt in the car, and I fought traffic for an hour and 20 minutes down the 405 freeway to Gracie University in Torrance. Man, you talk about, you know what? I'm gonna do something I don't normally do. I'm sitting in my classroom. I got some time. I'm gonna read you a text message I sent to my wife last night. And if you guys like this content, cool, let me know. If you don't, whatever. I'm a little more relaxed, a little more chill today. Normally it's right after class, and I'm just kind of burning through my initial thoughts and moving on. But this is less about the class and more about, like I said, getting to the class. So I texted my wife yesterday, and I was talking to her about some stuff, just, family stuff. But then I was, sitting in traffic on the 405. I should not have been on my phone. Thankfully, I did use voice to text, so I wasn't typing. I wrote this. I'm so freaking proud of myself for coming tonight. I'm tired. I was falling asleep in my computer before I got up, got dressed, and left. Google Maps even said I would get here late. That's true. Google Maps said I would arrive to Torrance at like 6:35. Thankfully, I got there before class began. But Google Maps even said I would get here late, and I didn't want to show up. I did the whole coin flip thing. That's another thing I do sometimes, like heads or tails. Heads, I get to head out, or tails, I'm going to stay my tail at home kind of a thing. If you ever want to know how you feel about something, flip a coin. Because flipping the coin will tell you what you really want, what you really crave. And in that moment, I flipped that coin and it said tails, which meant stay my tail at home. And I still wanted, and I wished the coin said heads because I wanted to go. And that's what helped me make the decision to get up and go. But I was texting my wife. I did the whole coin flip thing, and all 3 coins said to stay my ass at home. I do a best 2 out of 3. All 3 coins said stay at home. But I still got in the car. I still fought traffic. I still burned up the gas, and I'm proud of myself. And my wife says, great job, boo, or whatever she said. She calls me boo. Sorry. And I said, thanks. It feels good to do the thing that is aligned with who I say I am and what I say I want to accomplish. I had a million reasons not to come. Gas, I didn't have my bag, I was already home, it was the last day of school, I was falling asleep in my chair, I was hungry, I needed to work on my wedding thing, etc. And I even wrote this, I don't even care how the class goes. I mean, I want it to go well, but even if the class is hard and I struggle or I'm tired I said, even if the class is hard or I struggle, if I get winded, if I'm too tired, I've already freaking won. So this is weird. This is like a weird conversation. I'm even closer to the camera than normal, but that's how I felt yesterday. I felt like I already freaking won before I stepped on the mats. And I got there, I think, at like 6:27. So technically, after I put on my gi and everything, I was a couple minutes late onto the mat. But I made it. I made it, and I was true to myself. And like I texted my wife, I felt good to do the thing that is aligned with my values. I felt good to do the thing that's aligned with my goals. Because I think a lot of times we tell ourselves a story of who we want to be or who we think we're becoming, but then our actions don't match who we think we're becoming. Like, honestly, the last couple weeks I was chilling. I wasn't chilling. I had a sinus infection. I was sick, whatever. I had some things going on, but I could have trained. I could have worked out. I didn't. I sat at home. I ate like crap, gained some weight. It was disappointing. Who I was in those last couple of weeks didn't match who I said I was becoming, didn't match who I said I wanted to be. And that's the tricky part. That's the reason why I'm making this video probably the 3rd time. I think I recorded 2 last night, is because this isn't about me achieving my goal of getting my butt to class and driving the extra 40 miles or whatever. It's about you. It's about whoever is watching this. It's about me because I'm talking to myself, but it's also about whoever is watching this. Do your actions align with who you say you are? Do your actions match your values? Mine don't. Oftentimes they don't. I've largely stalled in my weight loss journey. I'm hanging around the same 3 or 4 pounds. I need to step my game up. Not because I want to be an alpha male and I'm going to be king of the world and I'm going to be a jiu-jitsu trainer. Sure. But just so that my actions can align with who I say I am. You know what? You ever walk by the mirror? You ever walk by the mirror and you see yourself and you don't like the way you look? You ever walk by the mirror, you see yourself and you wonder, who the hell is that guy? Because what you see in the mirror doesn't match what you see up here. Maybe you see yourself back when you were in high school or college and you were thinner, you were younger, you had more hair, whatever it is. Sometimes that difference, that inconsistency with how we see ourselves and who we see in that freaking mirror is a wake-up call. And honestly, when I looked at my attendance for jiu-jitsu in the month of freaking May, when I looked at the scale, when I looked at my attendance card, right, I recognized that I wasn't, the things that I was not living up to my values, my goals, my beliefs, and the image of who I was in my head. What is that phrase? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard? I think that's what it is. Hard work to me is consistency. Hard work to me is to keep showing up. And yeah, I said that in that last video, I think on Saturday. You got to show up, but you got to show up with the plan. You got to show up with intention. So last night I showed up. And the training wasn't even that great. Honestly, I enjoyed the class. It was fun. Hiron and Sam were teaching, and I learned a lot. My rear takedown is still a little clunky. I got to tuck that elbow better. But also, like I got up better on the twisting arm control, taking the back variation. I actually got a lot better because I was working with somebody smaller than me, so I had to be careful not to put too much weight on him. And so I was very careful and very intentional in how I got up, and I think it helped me. I think slowing down and doing things slower and trying to preserve my training partner gave me an opportunity to do the move and do the technique better. So it did work. It's a win. Now I've got that class done twice, and I'm ready to move on to reflex development. Of course, I'll do it a third time, probably a fourth or fifth time, to be honest. But I just want to make sure I get the two things down as much as possible so that I can hit the next phase of my training, which is reflex development. So I hope you don't mind the long-winded ramble. I'm in my classroom, I'm cleaning up and packing up my stuff for the summer, and I thought I would talk about my little victory. Not because I'm so awesome, but hopefully some people hear something or feel something. Oop, there went my lights. Well, I guess it's dark now. Hopefully, there we come back. Hopefully some people identify with, or they never want to identify with where I am. Be consistent. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Maybe you can have both, talent and hard work. That's a double whammy. So I think that's it. Class number 22, which this really wasn't about the class, so maybe I'll put this under white belt rambling. I don't know. But hopefully you got something out of it. And that's it. So stay focused, stay positive, stay vigilant.